Hey, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. It's Harry from Spurs TV back with another video. As you can tell, I'm actually quite happy for once. So Tottenham 2, Tottenham Hotspur 3. Spurs finally won a game after almost 2 months. It's quite incredible thinking about that. So let's go through it. Obviously, this is a Europa League game. So how much weight I'm going to put on that, whether things have changed, is probably nothing really. For context, Hoffenheim are 15th in the Bundesliga, 3 places off the relegation zone, and 1 place off the relegation. No, there's 18 teams in the league, and they're 15th. They're just above the relegation zone by like a point or something, or goal difference. And they kind of came into this game with the same sort of form as us, really. In some ways, that kind of reflected with the score of the 3-2. But anyway, let's go through it. So Spurs obviously made some changes, or didn't make some changes, however you want to see it. Boston went into goal, and Porro and Gray at left back. So I guess, because we don't have Spence in the Europa League, so he has to play Gray at left back. Davies and Dragusin, which to me was a very, well, at least much more stable centre-half pairing than we've seen most of the past few weeks. And I do think it was a little bit of a factor here. Not a major factor, but probably a little bit of a factor, the fact that Spurs did actually, get the win. But midfield was interesting. Madison and Bergvall were there, which was quite surprised me really, because I thought during the game, if you watch the game, Bergvall was kind of playing like a bit deeper really, and then obviously up front, you had Son Richarlison with his first start in a very long time, and Kulusevski off the right, and Bensko was the sixth, so to speak, I guess. But I did feel like during the game he was playing higher up, which I felt quite interesting. Not the whole game, but I mean, like there were some instances where he was playing higher, and then some instances where, especially in the first half, I thought he was playing deeper. But him and Bergvall need to switch a lot. It wasn't really anything fixed, but I thought Bentacle was the more controlled one, of course. Anyways, so Spurs at the lead, of course, through Madison, who, no surprise at all, he's got one of our highest goals and assists this season for a great finish, a great ball by Porro, and that was 1-0 early in the game, first like 5-10 minutes. And then Son scored the second. Massive deflection. I think it probably was going on target, but the deflection, I think, kind of took a bit away from the keeper. And Spurs go into half-time for once, 2-0 up. Second half begins. Hoffenheim have a penalty shout eventually checked, and VAR checks it, and it gets given Spurs' way, so the penalty gets cancelled. But Hoffenheim in the second half were applying tons and tons of pressure on Tottenham. For the in-game management, again, I thought was pretty poor. More came on for Richarlison later in like around the 60th minute, something like that. And I think that was probably due to Richarlison's lack of minutes. But I actually thought Richarlison did all right tonight. Like, I thought it was pretty good. And Bentacle, again, I thought he's probably our best option for the deeper line positions, I guess, in the midfield, because he's the most control. I mean, he's that control player, I guess, that we have. And obviously Bergvall did all right. Madison, like he's got his numbers in it. He got taken off late in the game. I didn't seem very happy about being taken off actually when we were trying to see out the game. But I'd rather he was like that than But whether there's more to that, I don't know. Because I was actually quite surprised he played the game, because he tends to not play a lot of that nowadays. Kulusevski, I didn't think he was effective off the right again. I thought, as narrow we normally are, we were even more narrow with him on the right. And Sonny, he did get the third goal, because obviously he got 2-1. Hoffenheim eventually scored after all that pressure, and got the third one. Anyway, most people thought that was it. That was game over. But then Hoffenheim came back and scored and made it 3-2 with about 5 to 10 minutes left. And you can't argue that, Spurs were like crazily under pressure. But thankfully, touch wood, we won the game 3-2. And that takes us to 4th in the Europa League table for now. We've got Elfsborg in the last game on the 30th of January, which is, I think, next Thursday, which we should probably see them off. I mean, the Hoffenheim game, I know it was a reflection of the fact that how bad we still are. I'm just relieved we won, and we probably will finish in the top 8 now, because we badly needed to win regardless. Whether this will carry into the Leicester game, I don't know, because our league form is horrific. It's actually relegation form. And whether this is just a detour, let's say, in performance, like, I don't know. But obviously on paper we should be beating Leicester anyway. But it's just, I mean, we drew at the King Power at the first day of the season before we had all these injuries, excuses. So yeah, I mean, it's good. It's a good win because we needed to win a game at some point. By probabilities, we're going to win one, I guess. But am I going to think this is a massive turning point? No. We beat one of the worst teams in Germany, who actually have a new manager, ironically. And one, for some reason, we tend to do better in the cups this year, and maybe that's just due to the fact that we've had easy ties, a lot of them, and especially in Europa League. And yeah, I think we'll get through to the top 8. Whether that will mean something in the long run, I guess the positives of it is that we have 2 less games because obviously we won't be playing in the alternative extra round, which is what I'd like to avoid because obviously we have injuries already. So less games the better in some ways, but we need to obviously beat Wolfsburg in the next game. I think we probably will at this point. They're not very good from what I've heard, but you never know with these teams. They can just turn up. But I think this one should probably carry us through. So yeah, we're probably going to be in the knockouts straight away, which is great. 2 less games with the amount of injuries you have, it helps. But that was not comfortable. And of course, there's still a lot of work to be done. And as people know, I'm not going to suddenly change my stance of being a team that's like 4th from bottom in Germany. So yeah, to me, it's just papering over cracks. So yeah, we'll see. We finally won a game.